Panthers?
Coaching. I think Caleb's a clown. I don't think he's going to figure it out until later in this year.
Hello world, and welcome back to Gridiron Campbell, the only podcast that puts its money where its mouth is. I'm your host, Rich Ron, and I'm joined by the entire collective, the Disciple, Brett Colson, Donnie, DP Peters, and the resident moose himself, Mo Nawara. If you are somehow still watching this on YouTube, we beg of you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Listeners, rate and review on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars only, like New York Jets left tackle Tyron Smith. I joke at the top, if you are still listening to us, because we, no joke, this is not hyperbole, had the worst week in the history of the podcast last week. We've gone 0-5 before. It's actually happened 5 times in 9 years. It happened 3 times in 2020, by the way. Fake ass COVID football. I think we just mailed it in at one point. When COVID things were happening and Friday injury reports were the fakest, we were potting on a different day. I think we just completely mailed it in. But we honestly hadn't had an 0-5 since 2020. But we had one last week.
Only 5 times in 10 years?
Yeah, 9 years
good.
Technically, because this is year 10. I know it's good. Okay? I'm gonna bend this into a positive. What made it really bad, what made it horrific for the collective, is that we lost all 4 of our Survivor entries. And honestly, it's one thing to have a bad week. For somebody, Brett especially, Brett loves Survivor. Brett's always pining for us to move it to a bigger part of the show, give it more attention. He loves Survivor. Brett, you're just absolutely crestfallen over there.
I am. I'm gut punched. Can I just say this though? I'm not upset about Survivor. I have 0 regrets with our Survivor.
I have 0 regrets as well. I'm upset that it's over. I'm not upset with the pick whatsoever.
Sure,
we had
but
less than 3% on the Cowboys.
So happy with that process. Like, you can't ask for much better than that. We got exactly what we were hoping for. The opposite happened in Circa and Millions. I've never been so disgusted, really, with myself in the 10 years that we've been doing this, because I preach every single week. Leverage. And what did I do last week? I went out there, I took the Lions, the Texans, the Cowboys. They're all 6+ point favorites. I knew they were all going to be popular. I still put them on my card because it was week 2, overreaction week. I chose that over the game theory that I've preached for years, and it blew up in my face. Like, that's what's so aggravating right now is we were supposed to do well last week because the public got annihilated. 0-5. The top 5 plays were 0-5 last week, and we went 0-5. How is that a thing?
The fact that we had neither the Raiders nor Bucs on the card is heartbreaking going back, because the words were said on this show that both of those teams could win outright, and yet none of us put them in the top 5 that we submitted to Circa Sports Million. And here's some optimism, okay? Other than Brett, who's 1-9 in his top 5 for the first 2 weeks of the season, we're actually not doing that bad. I'm 5-4-1. Donnie's 5-5. The collective is 4-5-1, and Mo is 4-6. So all we need is a little bit of positive variance, and we need some devil spots to get some leverage, because that's where you can make your gains, where 1 point is actually more valuable than the point that you're getting. And there just might be one of those spots this week. Hint, hint. I do want to set up the show real quick. We had a YouTube comment from IO606 last week, basically saying, what the hell is going on here? And let me tell you what the hell is going on. We are in Circa Sports Million. You have to pick 5 games against the spread. All of us pick 1. The collective machine, which is our aggregate rankings, picks the 5th and final game. The graphics that you see, if there's a team in gold, that signifies that it's in that person's top 5. So we're trying to go 5-0 every week. We get a point per win, and let's get right back on the horse, boys and girls. Split games where there are, of course, 2 hosts on one side, 2 hosts on the other. The Miami Dolphins make one of the longest road trips in the NFL this Sunday.
Miami and the Dolphins, the greatest
as they travel to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Seattle Seahawks. This is Seahawks minus 4.5 in the contest. It opened at 6, but money came in from influential bettors on Skylar Thompson and them boys. But Donnie is not buying it. He's got the highest opinion on this game, and it's on Mike McDonald, Geno Smith, who is freed, and the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, my only opinion here is that, or my only note here, I should say, is that I just can't back Skylar Thompson after what I've seen from him under center in the NFL. I refuse to do it. He's got to go on the road in a tough place to play against a team that I was high on coming into the season, so I'm going to hold on to those priors, and I am in no way going to be buying Skylar Thompson. I'm just not doing it.
Well, you must have missed the playoff game when Skylar Thompson almost went to Brett's backyard and did the damn thing against the Buffalo Bills. At the opener, I liked Miami. But as this has come down, I'm not going to take Miami at the worst of the number. That being said, I have the Hawks extremely low. Let's go for the Dolphins side, and that's Mo. Mo's got them in his top 5.
It's just basically the Seahawks injury report. I'm really worried about what I'm seeing on the Seahawks injury report. So I'll just read off some of the names that as of Wednesday didn't practice. So this is such an early lean for me. I'm not putting any money on this, but I would probably if these guys were out, although maybe I'd miss the number at that point. But we have Leonard Williams, Kenneth Walker, Uchenna Nwosu is still out. DK Metcalf didn't practice. I'm guessing he's going to play, but I don't know. Boye Mafe was out too. Jerome Baker, starting linebacker, he's solid. I mean, this is half the defense. So I don't know, man. I just I can't, with a good coach here and a player that I know we think is really bad and I think is really, really bad, but we have seen him score a few points in meaningful NFL games. I mean, I don't know if, can McDaniel coach this guy to 20 points? Probably. I mean, so I don't know. I fired a wager on this game, and it was on the over. 41, I think. I'm 41.5. Guys, why? Isn't this still just elite pass catchers everywhere? I mean, presuming DK plays, I don't know. I like the over in this game.
If there's ever a time to have to go to your backup quarterback, it's when you have the mini bye at the minimum. That's what the Dolphins have. Yeah, like I said, not a strong opinion on this game. I think there's a pretty wide range of outcomes. And honestly, if Skylar puts together a performance like he did at Buffalo, the Dolphins are probably live dogs in the spot because of the weapons that they have in that offense.
That's the thing. Just get the ball just get the ball into the hands of these guys. Find a way. He's done it before.
I mean, that's the Dolphins offense, right?
Yeah.
The Dolphins offense is supposed to be QB agnostic, right? Let's get the ball to our great players.
And yeah, he looked terrible last week, but he came off the bench. He's going to be much better this week coming off the was extra rest. Yeah, Thursday game. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine in this one.
We go to the next game, Texans at Vikings. This is a very interesting game. The Vikings are currently 2-point home dogs. This was a look ahead of 4, a opener of 3.5, but influential money flew in on KOC, Sam Darnold, and the Minnesota Vikings, dropping this below the key number of 3. And I like the Texans in this spot. There's one thing about this game that has me very bearish on Minnesota, who to date have been tremendous. KOC has coached it up fantastic. Sam Darnold has made the throws that have been asked of him. But the Vikings are currently sitting 27th in offensive line adjusted sack rate. And we know what happens when Sam Darnold is presented with pressure. He turns into a pumpkin a la the Jared Goffs, Tua Tagovailoas of the world. So if Houston,
he had some pumpkin moments last week. So
an absolute head scratcher that Fred Warner got, his it's like every 10th play, Sam Darnold's brain stops functioning and the wheel spins and it lands on, okay, we're not going to be able to rub 2 brain cells together on this play. And we're just going to heave the ball into players wearing different laundry. Houston has generated pressure. 9th in the league right now, 1st in adjusted sack rate. We all saw it on Sunday against Caleb Williams, where Caleb was on his butt for a lot of that game. So if the Texans can generate pressure in this spot, I don't think the Vikings offense will look like it has been. And then you've got Justin Jefferson. Says he's going to play. It's a quad, though. Like, very easy to re-aggravate. Very likely that he'll be less than 100%. Jordan Addison hasn't practiced yet. I like Jalen Naylor. I actually have Naylor in a ton of leagues. He's a stash of mine. Nice little player, but you're just peeling weapons away. And this Houston passing attack, I feel like it's brimming right now and ready to explode. And it might be the opportunity here to explode against the Minnesota defense. Donnie's with me. He also has Houston in his top 5.
Yeah, I think this Texans team is better. I think they're starting a little bit slow. Don't get me wrong. I like what KOC is doing in Minnesota. I think he's going to have some more tricks in his bag this week if those receivers are a little bit hurt. I guess I'm a little bit surprised that Brett and Mo would be on the Vikings because, I mean, at least personally, I think that's where the contest is going to be. Just with the hype that they've had coming out of Minnesota, the fact that they just beat the 49ers, they're getting points at home. So while I am on the Texans and I am still a little bit high on the Vikings, I guess you can call this me taking a little profit on the Vikings, selling a little bit of that stock, sticking with my Texan stock. And that's how I'm approaching this one.
I think in general, this is a very pro-Vikings podcast. I don't think any of us are shocked that this team is 2-0. I mean, we joked about on the first episode the chances of this team winning the division. So I don't think any of us are shocked at the start. And we're not going to get a lot of resistance from Brett or Mo because, Mo, you have the highest opinion at a 2 of 15 on Minnesota.
Well, I think Donnie's totally wrong. So, I mean, the chart I'm looking
at this number,
says
yeah,
90% are on the Texans. So that's basically was my tiebreaker here. I thought this line was fair. So I'm just going to put on the side that I don't want basically the other side on the card because I think the Texans are going to be super chalk. I mean, every time I look at like this Brian Flores defense, last week, that was basically my reasoning for taking the Vikings. I'm kicking myself that I didn't bet them. But I will say, CJ Stroud is a player that I trust under pressure. So he's not somebody I expect to crumble in the face of this Brian Flores defense. But still, the Vikings are a solid team. So I thought this line was where it should be.
That's a great point, and that's where I want to cap it. I wanted to bring this up. The Brian Flores blitz plan has worked against 2 bad quarterbacks, against Daniel Jones and against Brock Purdy. I don't think it's going to work against CJ Stroud. We move to the next split game, Chiefs at Falcons. The Falcons are home dogs as well, 3.5 in the contest. And Brett, let's get you involved because you and I have the Dirty Birds bubbling our top 5. Tell us why you were on Atlanta.
I think a lot of this is just, are the sleepy Chiefs back?
This is the cap, right? We said it last week. Are the Chiefs sleepwalking through the season again, or are they trying to go 17-0? They sleptwalked last week, right? And also, rule of Chiefs, teams just try their hardest. Teams go for it at midfield. Teams give their best punch against the Chiefs.
That's the cap for me. Like, I can't. It's hard for me to lay points against a team like the Falcons that, I mean, I would imagine Cousins will continue to look better every week, assuming that injury continues to get better and he has more chemistry with those receivers. It's hard for me to lay more than a field goal against the Falcons here with KC.
And if there's ever a chance that running might matter, it might be against the team that's 22nd in rush D EPA, 32nd in success rate. Meanwhile, Bijan has been an absolute... Can you imagine having 7 on your team and only giving him half of the running back rushes in a season? Can you imagine doing that? Arthur Smith, unbelievable. Mo, you've got your chefs, but you only got them in the middle. Defend your boys.
Just some of what I watched last week is basically that Trey Hendrickson single-handedly ruined the Chiefs today because he destroyed the rookie left tackle. I don't think the Falcons have those sorts of pass rushers on their team. Sorry, Matthew Judon. I do not put you on that level. And these guys will continue to get better. So I think things will look a bit better for this Chiefs offense. What's this line if Saquon Barkley just holds onto the ball though? I mean, aren't the Chiefs minus like 5.5 here? I mean, are the Falcons a decent team? I don't even know if they're good. Like, I think the strength of this defense is their secondary, but when you don't get any pressure, I mean, I think, did I read that right? I think really they were 32nd in pressure rate. I don't like that against Patrick Mahomes, guys. That hot take here, but I think you might need to put Patrick Mahomes under pressure in order for anything positive to happen. So, I think the Chiefs are probably going to be able to move the ball at will here, and I don't know if the Falcons can, but yeah, that being said, I'm concerned about this Chiefs tackling. It seems like it's every year this team is one of the worst tackling teams, and when you are poor at tackling, Bijan Robinson and Drake London are probably two of the last guys I want to be facing, so we could see some big busted run after the catch type plays from those guys here.
Part of the Atlanta troubles in terms of pressure rate might be because they played against two mobile quarterbacks, right? You don't want to overcommit against Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts because they can kill you downfield. That's not to excuse them being the absolute worst in the league, but part of that might be going into some of these metrics. And one more point. Usually it's a chuckle fest, but the Manningcast had some great points at the end with Matt Ryan in there talking about why Kirk Cousins had so much success at the end of the game. And that's because the 2-minute drill is day one install. A lot of the plays that they run right at the beginning are the ones that are in the 2-minute drill. There's not a lot of thinking. There's just a lot of concepts that you do over and over again. So maybe the Falcons recognize that and roll some of that out more early on in the game as opposed to just in a dire situation. Last split game, we go out to the NFC West, where the San Francisco 49ers travel here to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. And you want to talk about injuries for the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams are absolutely decimated across the board on offense. We talked about the offensive line woes last week. Now they're going to be without their two best receivers. What is left for the Rams? I don't know. This was one of the hardest games to cap. But Mo has an opinion on the home dog and has the Rams in his top 5.
I mean, they're not going to lose by 30 every week, guys. Like, isn't this bet the team that played the worst last week? They're getting 7 at home and a divisional underdog. I mean, this is a beautiful buy low, stinky underdog spot where nobody believes the Rams have a shot. When I don't even know
home.
I mean, I don't even know what the Niners have left still. I mean, they're missing Debo and Christian McCaffrey. I think those might be their two best players. Cover your ears, Rich. But I don't. Ayuk hasn't done anything this year. So skill position wise, obviously I'm not talking about like Trent Williams and stuff, but out of their big 4 guys, those are probably the ones I think they can least afford to lose because they generate so much yardage after the catch where Kittle and Ayuk seem to more get the schemed up yards. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey and Debo can just turn the most basic plays into 20-yard gains on a regular basis. So I think they're really missing that. And I think Matt Stafford can regroup here. I mean, there's multiple linemen that look like they might play at this point. So I think they're going to have like 3 of their starters and maybe only 2 backups this week. Still Matt Stafford. It's still, I think he can probably make magic happen with whatever. I know that they got
Robinson,
last
WR1.
Week, it's not going to happen like that every week. It's just not. I mean, it's still a professional football team. They're getting 7 points, and it's a decent professional football team. So I'm going to take the Rams, and I think I'm going to bet the Rams, guys.
I think the under is a look in this game. McVay talked about moving away from 11 and playing more 12, which means running the ball more, extending drives, milking the clock. So I think 44.5 is pretty rich in a market where we're seeing totals in the high 30s here in 2024. So I think the under is the look, and I guess the under does then favor the dog in this spot. The one injury that really worried me the most out of all this is Kobe Durant, because he matters in this defense. This Rams defense that is bereft of talent. If they
He
have
played last week, though.
It could definitely be vet rest. And the Thursday injury report I just checked has not come out yet. So it would not surprise me to see him back at practice today, but that was worrisome to me. I took the Niners. It is very, very, very low. Donnie, you've got the Niners a little higher than me, though. So you have to pick up the shield and defend San Fran.
I mean, I think it's a good spot for the Niners to bounce back, playing a team that's, I mean, they're not the team that they're supposed to be because they have all these injuries. So I think we're all pro Stafford here. I'm certainly pro Stafford. I'm pro McVay. But this seems like a very tough spot. Had the Niners won last week, I'm probably on the Rams here. They lost, though. I expect them to have a nice little bounce back spot against a familiar opponent in a place to play where it's not exactly home field advantage for the Rams.
Going to be a lot of red at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. I just got a notification, by the way, from Sleeper, great fantasy app, that DK Metcalf has been moved to healthy, which makes me believe that he practiced today. All right, those are the split games. Brett is ready to pick up the sword again. Couple of big lone wolves. Nobody's had more lone wolves than Brett this season. He's got a trio this week and a pair in his top 5, including a quarterback who might not meet the threshold in Bo Nix as the Denver Broncos travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. The Bucs are 6.5-point favorites in the contest. This opened at a full 7, and the Broncos got some market support to come off of the key number, which I think the rest of us saw as value. But Brett is still liking
No.
Bo Nix.
It's not value when everybody's seeing the same thing, that it's short of 7, and then everybody ends up on the Bucs. The contest loves the Bucs, by the way. Like, I couldn't believe how many people were on the Bucs last week. It was like 800 or 900. I did not see that coming. But we're looking at two different teams here that are just at the absolute opposite ends of the value spectrum. And with this sitting south of 7, like I said, I'm quite confident that Tampa will be one of the more popular plays in this contest. This is a great spot to fade Baker, who is way outperforming his skill set. And as bad as the Broncos have looked, I'm not buying that Tampa should be laying 6.5 against pretty much anybody right now. So I will take the contrarian side here in Denver and pray. I think this is one of those spots in the contest.
So clearly the biggest worry as a Bucs backer are the injuries to Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea. Those two guys in the middle are very important to run defense. In a game with a total of 40.5, when you're laying 6.5 points, you're going to want to be able to stop the run against Denver, because Denver
Antoine Winfield too? Is he for sure out?
I'm seeing DNP foot right now. But I'm to be honest, are we worried about the Bucs secondary against the Denver passing attack?
Yeah, but Winfield does it all, man.
The thing about stopping the run is it's as much about math and resource allocation as it is about talent. At some point, yes, if you've got the worst talent in the world in the middle, you're going to get run on. But Todd Bowles has been calling defense in this league for a very long time. And I'm very confident that he's going to be able to scheme against the run and make Bo Nix beat him. It's basically what happened week 1. They schemed against the run, and they said, Jaden Daniels, try to beat us. And he couldn't. Garbage time, he feasted. But prior to that, they did absolutely nothing on offense against the Bucs. Mo, I feel like you're going through a lot of emotions over there. You got the Bucs in your top 5.
I'm thinking about this game, and I just cannot wrap my mind around how are the Bucs south of a touchdown here. I do not understand it. It's Todd Bowles against Bo Nix. How is he going to get first downs here? Someone tell me. I need to hear this. I unfortunately think the Bucs are definitely the right side south of 7. I don't understand this line. It's a quarterback who has a literal ADOT of like 2 against Todd Bowles, who's going to bring the house every play. They can't throw deep. They can't do anything really. I mean, I don't see how they can score or just move the ball at all. I know that they faced like a really tough defense last week, but it's got to the point where like when they hit their biggest play last week was a 50-yard flea flicker, you guys. I was watching that game. They got a 50-yard flea flicker to the 10, and I said, well, Chris, they're on the 10, so I already know they're capped at 3 points. We needed him to get in the end zone there. That was the only way they were going to score, was if that 50-yard flea flicker went in the end zone. Because sure enough, they get down there. What does Bo Nix do? He throws an interception immediately, dude. They can't do anything on offense, and they're facing a legitimately solid team. I mean, the Bucs are just decent. Like, I don't know how this line is where it is. The Broncos they might be the worst team in the NFL, guys. And they don't have like two of their pass rushers. So
and they don't have Dalton.
Really bad.
They don't have a Dalton to come in and save the day. I mean, what's going to happen if they have to go to backup? Zach Wilson is going to come in and save the day? One of the worst quarterbacks to ever lace him up? This is what it comes down to me. If Bo Nix doesn't meet the threshold, this line is just, it's either correct or it needs to be 7 or higher. Because, this isn't Skylar Thompson. This isn't Jake Browning. This could be Jake Luton out here unable to get first downs. But I understand the full leverage. I understand the return to Devil Minotti trying to get leverage against the contest, and I can respect it. This next one, I don't know what you're doing with this one other than pledging your full allegiance to the Cleveland Browns, who are minus 6.5 point favorites at home against the G-Men. What's going on here?
What's the contest going to do with this one? Are people actually going to lay points with Cleveland in this game? Do people like Cleveland? I don't think so.
I mean,
both of these sides are going to be bottom 15.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's
and
fine.
the last time people watched these teams, the Browns won by infinity, basically. The Jags couldn't get first downs. So I don't think people are going to necessarily... Are people going to line up to take Daniel Jones against this Browns defense? Absolutely not, after what they did last week against the Jags. I'll tell you who is going to line up to take the Giants, however, because it is in every other member of the collectives, not top 5, Brett, not top 4, not top 3. It's in every single top 2 of the 3 people that you're looking at. Who wants to take it away?
How can the Giants... how can the Browns run away from anybody? How can they run away from anybody?
How can the Giants score? I thought that's where you were going to go.
No, because it's pro football. They can put together 14 points. That's literally all they need here. 14 points.
Yeah, can't Malik just do this himself?
Who?
Can't Malik Neighbors just get us the cover here?
Dude, I was watching that game a bunch because for some godforsaken reason, guys, Commanders Giants was our local broadcast here in Omaha last week. So we had that entire game on, okay? And let me tell you, Malik Neighbors is a problem, okay? I cannot understand how somebody that's that singular is making that many plays. I know he blew the game basically single-handedly, but they would have lost by 30 if he wasn't making every other play in the game. So how can anyone even really complain about that? I mean, yeah, I think they can do enough throwing to him, throwing to Wandale. I mean, Devin Singletary looks halfway decent. He's getting yards, so they'll put together enough drives to score double-digit points. I think that's all they need here, man. I mean, anything over 10, and they're probably favored to cover this. Okay, I never thought I'd be capping for David Njoku, but here I am. He can't pass to anybody besides Njoku.
Bro, I said this last week. Njoku matters. The rest of these guys are clowns.
They still won and covered last week, by the way.
They won and covered because the Jags couldn't function as an
Amari
offense.
Cooper has 5 catches on 13 targets or something. Like, this is so dysfunctional. I can't even... Like, they brought in Joe Flacco, and he's just getting the ball to Amari Cooper at will. That's how bad Deshaun is. It's, like, hard to even put it into words.
And Myles Garrett, back-to-back DNPs. And Myles Garrett matters.
He for sure does. He for sure does. And this is one I'm going to be watching closely because the the survivors I do have left, I'm looking at Cleveland. But if Miles is not looking like he's going to play, this changes my view completely. Because that's the cap. Is like Schwartz in this defense against Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones handing them turnovers, handing them field possession. Because I'm with you. Like, this Cleveland offense sucks. But they ran through teams last year because their defense put them in positive situations offensively. So, yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye on, is Garrett.
Donnie, you got to cap off this game. You said it perfectly a couple weeks ago when I said the Giants would have the fewest wins in the NFL, that I would be here stumping for the Giants as dogs, and here I am.
Well, I mean, it starts with just the simple fact that in a game where the total is 38, how, and it involves the Browns, they cannot be 6.5 point favorites. I'm sorry. It's not possible. And if you look at last week, check Trevor Lawrence's bank account. Because all that guy did was overthrow everyone by 15 yards. The whole game, okay?
The safety he took, too. I mean, you got to try something. You got to try something. You can't.
They also drove to the 10 like 4 times and scored like 6 points. I mean, could the Giants do that? Maybe. I mean, I'm presuming they're bringing in a professional kicker this week.
Dable.
I mean,
come on, Brett. What happened?
I could not figure out what was going on. I was staring at the screen. I'm like, why are they going for 2 when it's 18-13? I'm like...
You're telling me there's not a lazy day in May where they're just standing around and they're like, who else can kick?
Where's Justin Reed?
There's not one other dude that plays football for the Giants that's tried to kick a ball through the uprights.
The constant lack of preparation from these coaches in these billion-dollar corporations,
it's unbelievable.
They're not even teams, franchises, they are corporations, is unreal.
We know we have a finite number of roster spots. We know that the kicker can get hurt. There has to be a contingency plan. It can't be nothing.
Isn't that the tiebreaker on roster number 52 and 53? Can one of you guys kick the ball through the upright? All right, you're in. What's the difference?
Yeah, I don't.
Not only that, but just adding in the new kickoff rules too. I think there's more incentive to not have a kicker on your roster, right? Like I don't know. That one hurt. That one hurt, Brian. That's my guy, and that one really hurt to see.
Brett's last lone wolf, more towards the middle. Bears at Colts. My sounder is slow. Brett's got A-Rich -1.5 at home against Caleb Williams and the Bears.
Coaching. I think Caleb's a clown. I don't think he's going to figure it out until later in this year. And I'm buying the Colts off a loss. I think Richardson, just the variance that comes with him. I think he was a great sell last week on the road in a spot where everybody expected him to do it, and I don't think people are looking at it that way this week. And looking at the public betting, I think a heavy percentage was on the Bears. So that's ultimately why I clicked Colts. I think it's a good buy low spot.
So, I mean, Caleb might be a clown. It could happen. But what is the guy supposed to do when tackles are just whiffing on players?
But that's also a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it a problem against the Colts?
I mean, the Colts are 7th in pressure.
Bad.
The Colts are 7th in pressure rate. They kind of have been...
DeForest Buckner's out, too.
Buckner injury is big for Indianapolis. Do you know what this comes down to? This just comes down to Gus Bradley being a clown. That's what this comes down to for me. Absolute horrific performance last week. Malik Willis is the quarterback for the other team. What are we doing, my guy? How are we not in the Bear front? 4-4, Tim Waltz style. How are we not plugging gaps and stopping the run? How is Josh Jacobs going for 30 a carry to start the game?
Gus Bradley literally holds hurry up every play. They just run the same shit every play.
But this is the Dan Quinn scenario. You go down and you take the clipboard and the mic and everything from your defensive coordinator, from your coordinator, and you say, listen, guy, okay, goal line D. Just like Dan Quinn should have done it with Kyle Shanahan. This is what you do when you are the head coach. So I'm sorry, yes, Gus Bradley is a clown. But Steichen's got to take control. At some point, you have to take control.
Steichen might be advanced stat pilled too, because can we run the ball a little bit? We have an unbelievable rushing quarterback, Jonathan Taylor, and a good offensive line. Like, let's settle things down a little bit and turn in hand. You're not going to hear me say that very frequently, but this pass rate is way too high, especially for a quarterback that just injects so much variance into the game. So I just think this is a get-right spot for a Cleveland team that's played against two very good defenses, two tough spots, and now he's going to get a much softer Indianapolis. Maybe Keenan Allen, maybe. Again, didn't practice today, though, however, so that's not trending in a positive direction. But nobody had, I guess I had the strongest opinion. I had the Colts at the bottom of my top 5, but that is not saying much because there's only 2 or 3 games this week that I had any strong opinion on. And one of them is this one. The Philadelphia Eagles travel to the Bayou to take on the New Orleans Saints. And everybody's telling me that this is way too much of a correction on the New Orleans Saints. And I disagree. What this line is telling us is that the Saints are 1.5 points better than Philadelphia. Why is that crazy? Why is that such an insane thing? After the Eagles...
Ask Brett. I don't think it's crazy.
The Eagles have... All they've done so far this season is go out and get outgained by 1.4 yards per play, and then go out and get outgained by 1.2 yards per play. That's all they've done, is get dominated on a down-to-down basis in 2 consecutive games. They have a horrific defense. They have a middling quarterback, and they have a head coach who everybody in the organization seems to hate. Days before the season started, the traditional hit piece that comes out when a head coach gets fired and all the stories come out and this is what was actually happening, that came out before the season started this year. That he and Jalen Hurts were basically not talking to each other at the end of last season. So for that to come out before the ball went in the air this season just tells you everything you need to know what's going on in the Eagles locker room right now. I think this Eagles team could end up being like a 6 or 7 win team. This defense is horrendous. And why can't the Saints be good? The data is there. This isn't like New Orleans has been good. New Orleans
because preseason priors, that's why.
But why do they matter so much? When you have, especially in this situation where the Saints have a brand new OC and the Eagles have 2 brand new coordinators on both sides of the ball, priors have to matter less. We don't know. We're just projecting. We're taking roster spots and previous trends and trying to formulate what we think is going to happen. It can't matter as much as something that's as sticky as the same coordinators and the same players. What if Clint Kubiak is just him? They're number 1 in play action rate. They were dead last year. What if he's just sharp and doing sharp things? What if this is just a good team, Brett?
Man, I hope you're right. This is the only team I brought to our Futures podcast. So, like, I truly think there could be something there. The biggest concern coming into the season for me was the offensive line, which had no problems with Dallas at all. I mean, that was one of the most dominant performances.
Number 1 in adjusted line yards.
Like, that blew me away. I think that was the biggest surprise of the season so far, was the way they manhandled Dallas last week. Maybe they are good. But, again, 2-game sample, I gotta see it again. And
this is the leverage spot too, Brett. This is the leverage spot of the week.
Is this even a real line?
This is not.
I haven't even seen a 3 all week.
It touched 3 and there was immediate buyback. It is a very expensive 2.5 right now. So I would not be shocked if it does get to 3. That would not surprise me. But this is a fake line. If it remains 2.5, Saints is the play.
I left it at the bottom of my card thinking that it could close 3 or could be at 3 Saturday. Yeah, you guys tell me. I mean, Mo, you're looking at lines all week. Do you think this ends at 3?
I feel like no, but
if that's the case, then like maybe we do play Saints.
I didn't make it my top pick because I knew I was going to be a lone wolf, but this is a leverage opportunity. If we get to Saturday,
you're not a lone wolf.
I am a lone wolf. You picked the Saints? Oh, you do have.
Maybe I misclicked.
No, I messed up. There's
Fix
an X.
it.
This should have been. We're going back to the split game segment. Mo's on my side.
Think
Let's go.
it's not crazy too, and I'm like, we're taking the worst of the number, which makes me not want to. But then contest wise, it's probably good, right? I mean, somebody wake me up when the Saints don't score 40. I mean, why can't the Saints be awesome? I guess I don't know. What if offensive lines, guys, don't matter anymore? In a world where everyone runs this stupid Shanahan offense and you can just put 5 dopes up front and just do whatever you want. I mean, it works for the Miami Dolphins. Why can't it work for everybody? It works for Miami 49ers. Why can't it work for the Saints?
The way someone was speaking to this on one of the shows that I listened to today about just how the stretch, this kind of stretch zone system just makes life easier for tackles. So Maybe this style of football just allows mediocre O-line play to exist where traditional schemes would not. My other lone wolf, very low. I honestly only chose them because they have a better coach and a better quarterback. It's the Los Angeles Chargers, who travel to Pittsburgh. The Steelers are 1.5-point favorites. The Chargers stayed out east after beating up on the Panthers last week. I've got no strong opinion on this game whatsoever. Donnie, you have the highest opinion on the Steelers, so I'll let you give a milquetoast opinion on Pittsburgh here. You love Tomlin.
I wrote, I guess the Steelers, ? It's mine. I mean, I don't know what to do here. These seem like the same exact teams.
Yeah, that's it, right?
And like, I don't know what's going on with Herbert and this foot thing, so I'm just like, I guess I'll just take the home team. I mean, I don't. It's like, I don't know.
Herbert foot was the tiebreaker for me too.
Yeah, that's like the thing, because I think I'll give head coach to Harbaugh. The only reason I say I think I'll give it to him is because even though I think Tomlin does a lot of very stupid things, he always gets his teams like to play, to ready to go, and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I guess I'm just giving the nod here to the Steelers because they're home, the fact that Herbert's hurt, and maybe there's something about traveling cross country and playing at the time that they're playing. So that's what I'm doing there.
Donnie's got a pair of lone wolves, both of them favorites. The first one, a big favorite. The Cincinnati Bengals are laying 7.5 points against the Washington formerly racial slurs, formerly football team, now Commies, on the Monday night doubleheader. Talk about Cincy and them boys.
Yeah, the only thing I could land on here in a week when I didn't like too many things is that this is a really great spot for the Bengals to bounce back. They're 0-2. They need a win. They gave the Chiefs the run for their money last week, of course, but they ultimately didn't come out on top. And I don't know. I just feel like against the Commanders, who have a really bad pass defense, we could see Burrow get as right as we'll see him get right this season. I don't think he's probably ever going to get right this season. Who knows? But this is one of those weeks with this specific Bengals team where I'm like, they can blow doors here and I'll be on him, and then I'll go back to fading them next week. Like, that's just kind of what's going to happen here. And it's about the matchup. It's about the situation where they're coming off being 0-2 and whatnot. So, yeah.
The Bengals at 0-2 definitely need to win, but they don't need to win by margin. And Washington lived in the red zone last week. I know it's the Giants, but the Commanders did not punt in a football game last week. Not once. There was 0 punting by Washington on Sunday. So instead of getting to the opponent's 15-yard line 8 times, if they can punch it in, it's going to look a lot different. And a Cincinnati milquetoast defense that might not provide a lot of resistance, average in pressure rate, 24th in adjusted sack rate. I just think there's going to be a lot of scoring opportunities for the Commanders to keep pace in this contest. Sneakily, the Commies, 12th in pressure rate themselves. Burrow has been seeing some ghosts, some getting himself sacked in some of these spots. So I just think this is way too many points for an average Cincinnati team. So, Brett, you agree? You also have Washington in your top 5.
Yeah, I kind of like the Commanders' running game here against Cincinnati. Slow the game down a bit. If they do fall behind, Jaden might just be the garbage time extraordinaire of this season too. So I think there are multiple ways Washington can get a cover here, especially at this number. I'm curious what the contest. I'm always curious what the contest does with like a 7.5. I think this one just might not be popular on either side.
That seems to be the play as well. I will say, by the way, it might be predictive that Washington is bad in the red zone because Cliff Kingsbury is an idiot. Yeah. So there is that worry. But this just seems 7.5 is a lot of points for a team that has not demonstrated that they're even good on offense, let alone great. Last one for Donnie is a double sounder game as the Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Brett's backyard.
The Bills make me wanna shout.
And Donnie is laying the 5.5 points with the Buffalo Bills.
I knew I'd be a lone wolf here, but as somebody who is high on the Jaguars coming into the season, I'm so pissed off at them that I'm not betting on this stupid effing team. And I don't care if that's the worst cap in the history of mankind, but that's what I'm going with. Until they prove to me otherwise, I'm picking against them every week. I'm so effing annoyed at this team. It's unbelievable.
Fair enough. We're getting 2 free points off the look ahead. 3.5 to 5.5. Don't love it. Nobody loves it. Brett, you were the highest on Jacksonville. So get us out of the segment with a pro T-Law and an anti-Bills take.
Yeah, this is definitely not pro T-Law. It's the injuries on the Bills defense that continue to pile up. And this it's very reminiscent of the game these two teams played last year. That one was in London, yes, but the Bills defense was ravaged in that game, and then Jacksonville came away with a win. I would not be shocked if Jacksonville just won this game on Monday night. I could see the Bills blowing this one after running away from Miami a week and a half ago. I'm worried about this one as a Bills fan. I could see them losing it.
All right, Lone Wolves.
You're worried about everyone as a Bills fan. Like, that's not even a statement you can
30
make.
years of Schrodinger's, whatever.
Yeah. The hell do you expect?
Brett's got the Broncos, Browns, Colts. I've got the Saints and Chargers. Donnie has the Bengals and Bills. Mo, not a single Lone Wolf this week. All right. 0-5 in the rear view. It's time to make a winner. Time to make the card.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
With the only winning record on the season, your boy is up first. I moved the Saints down. My second pick, I almost made it my first pick, but it would have been sniped by the collective. So the Commanders plus 7.5 are going on the card. We have to wait all the way until the Monday night doubleheader to sweat this thing out. But Jaden Daniels, worst case, garbage time, Hall of Famer. Just need Burrow to continue to be mid-AF. Let's go, commies. Donnie is up next, and he's got a consensus pick. One that we've not discussed yet, obviously, and one that I alluded to at the top of the program because there are certain circumstances that might make this the leverage play of the week.
Let me tell you, this is going to be a sweat till the end with this idiot at quarterback. Okay? Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans.
This was Brett's second pick. This was Mo's third pick. So a lot of support from the collective. I had this all the way at the bottom because I don't know what the hell to do with this game. Jordan Love apparently is practicing. The Titans are favored by 2 in the contest. That obviously won't come to fruition if Jordan Love is the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers.
Well, here's the funny thing.
Go for it.
Jordan Love came out in pads today at -1.5. And a couple hours later, the Titans were -2.5. I think that tells you all you need to know about what's going to happen there.
Some more reindeer games from LaFleur, it seems. So if it is indeed Malik Willis once again, who has told us that it is not a revenge game because the Titans did pay him. He made money from them, and he is thankful that they brought him into the league. isn't this, and I'm not even the guy that has this high, isn't this just the spot after the spot, right? After they just threw the kitchen sink out to win a pro football game, now it's the letdown on the road, Mo?
Yeah, it's just, this is, rule of NBA star is out. Everyone has an amazing game, and then everyone comes back to earth after that. But it's also like when you just look at this tactically and systematically, you're looking at a Packers team that, I did kind of hint at this when we talked about this game. It's a good coach. He was ready for a piss-poor Indianapolis defense at home. That's not what's going to happen here. Like, this is a much different spot than that. This is on the road against a good defense. So complete polar opposite situation. And I don't think they're going to be able to ram the ball down Tennessee's throat. This is a legit defense. I think Tennessee's defense is legit. So I think all they need is a few drives and Malik Willis, if he has to play from behind at all, handing off to Josh Jacobs 30 times isn't going to work this week is what I'm getting at. So if he has to make any plays, then this is curtains, I think, for the Packers. So I will just say that I'm very skeptical that Jordan Love is going to play. I just don't see the Packers taking their franchise player on a bad wheel and just throwing him out there in a game where, honestly, the market, and I think everybody knows it, is telling them they have a chance with Malik Willis, and they probably feel the same after last week. What is the rush here? I don't see it happening.
He's not playing.
How much are you hoping that he's playing, though, bro?
I kind of hope he's playing. I kind of hope he does play, but he's not playing.
All right, that's Donnie's selection. Mo is up next, and I think he thinks a certain quarterback does not meet the threshold to play in this league.
Yeah, I just want to say, if you guys don't want this pick on there because of leverage, I'm completely open. And I was going to tell you guys that I was open to going to my next pick, but my next pick was the Titans. So now I don't know what to do. But right now I have the Bucs apparently on there. I mean, I think it's a good pick, but if you guys are all in that the Bucs are going to be for sure top 5, I will go away from this pick. But I will say that I think the Bucs is a good pick, okay? The Denver Broncos on the road with a dreadful quarterback against a real football team, and the line is not 7. I don't understand what's going on here, but I will listen if you guys talk me out of it.
Let me set the table as to why this is the funniest thing that has ever happened in collective history. After an unprecedented 0-9 week where we went 0-5 and lost all 4 of our Survivor entries, Brett's top pick was the Broncos. Sniped. Brett's second pick was the Titans. Sniped. Brett's third pick was the Commanders. Sniped. Brett's fourth pick, sniped by the other side of the collective. So we have to go to number 5 on Brett's card, which is a consensus pick. We have not discussed it. Brett, who is it?
Well, it's hilarious all the way around. Mo said the Rams looked the worst last week. I will raise you. I'm pretty sure that was Dallas, who was my top play, or my second play last week that ended up on the card. This is a weird one, though, because it also could have been the Ravens.
Yeah.
But I like buying Dallas here at home with a plus next to its name. And it looks like the public's on the Ravens here, too. Dallas might be a sneaky leverage spot, which is wild to me, but with them being at home. So taking the football completely out of it, the stink on Dallas, I think, leads to some leverage in the contest, which I need badly after that piss-poor performance last week.
This goes back to the summer. Nobody was talking about the Cowboys. Everybody thought they were just a middling side. They come out, they beat the piss out of Cleveland. And then maybe they just ran into the buzzsaw that is the GOAT Clint Kubiak last week if the Saints just end up being a great team. The Ravens, one of the reasons why I think the Ravens will be popular, same with the Bengals, not so much in the contest, but in real life, every single parlay and teaser will be tied to Cincinnati because people will think that these two teams cannot go 0-3. They can't start 0-3. It can't happen. As if the roulette wheel spin is not independent every single time. So that is ultimately why I do think we might get some leverage on Dallas in this spot. You were the highest by far on the Cowboys here. But there's just a chance. What if Baltimore's just whatever? this year. What if offensive line matters when you're not running the Shanahan scheme, Mo?
Yeah, this one I thought was fair, but if the public is on the Ravens, I mean, I'm definitely leaning toward the Cowboys here. I thought this one should be a pick'em, but obviously it's like the most worthless point there is. So that's the side I thought was the right side. But yeah, I'm concerned about this Ravens offensive line. I'm concerned about this Ravens schedule, man. I mean, like Rich said, dude, we could honestly see the Ravens at 8-9 at the end of the year, and we just are not really allowed to be surprised at this point because they might just be a pretty good team with a really, really tough schedule.
What is that thumbs up for? Do you have Ravens unders? You said it on the pod, right?
Ravens under.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Let's see why we had to move so far down Brett's guard.
The collective chooses the New York Giants.
Hello, G-Man. Brett, tell us why you're worried.
Well, I think I already explained why I'm worried. It's Schwartz against Daniel Jones. I get it, though. I do. I get it. Big number with a low total. You guys have your fun.
Going to have our fun. There is one consensus pick that we have not discussed. It didn't crack anybody's top 5. In fact, Mo is the only person that has it above the fold, and that is the Arizona Cardinals. Playing host to the Detroit Lions.
Donnie's making a face.
Donnie's making a face. You put an X next to Cardinals. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, Panthers Raiders.
Panthers Raiders. Did I blow it? Oh, that was a split game.
You said
that's a
that
split game that I
well, then you blew it there. You blew it somewhere.
Yes, Panthers Raiders was a split game.
How do you even cap that game? It's like impossible because you're just like, how bad is Bryce? We don't know. It's so hard to know.
Yeah.
Was it all Bryce? Was it 80% Bryce? I don't know how bad Bryce was. Last year when Andy Dalton came in, guys, he threw for 360 yards and scored 27 points. I mean, they still got buried. I remember because I had the Panthers, but he scored points. It wasn't his fault that they didn't cover.
Yeah, at the adjustment, I don't know how to cap at 5. At the opener, yeah, you're interested in getting a full touchdown with Dalton. But it's not just the quarterback that's been the problem in Carolina. It's everything. You look at the handicapping doc that I put together, and you can't find, it's not like there's a couple things they're doing well. And it's like, okay, if we get a new quarterback in there, we might get the dead cat bounce. They're bottom 5 in everything. Defensive, up front, stopping the run, creating pressure, blocking. There's the only thing that they're not bottom 5 in that I'm looking at. Okay, they're 25th in adjusted line yards on offense. Okay, sorry. My apologies to the great Carolina Panthers. Is that they're 3rd in blitz rate. That's the only green that they have on their entire sheet. So, yeah, I think it's hard to have a strong opinion in favor of Carolina at the current number. But Arizona. Mo, you've got the Cardinals in the middle. 3 points.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like the Cardinals, we should just be taking them. Money bet line, right? This is classic high total.
Yeah, the
game.
total is 52.
Points are meaningless. Yeah.
So, yeah, whatever you do, if you bet the Cardinals, take the money line. But I don't know what to do with the Cardinals after last week because it's just like, was that a fake game against a shell of a football team? I don't know. They looked good, obviously, in a pretty competitive game against the Bills week 1, even taking away that kickoff return touchdown. You know, they were in that game. You know, they had a solid. This looks like a solid team. I think I was interested in the Cardinals, but like preseason. But man, this Lions roster is just so good. I'm scared that they're going to get blown up front in this game, like I thought they would all season. But they've been competitive, and Goff, he looks pretty bad, guys. Like both Detroit games so far. I mean, Detroit was marching on the Bucs. Like they should have. I don't know if they should have covered, but they definitely should have won that game. So if Goff is the end pumpkining is happening again, then this could be better quarterback getting 3 points at home. I mean, I kind of feel like this line should be 2.5, but the Lions have so much of a better roster on paper. But that being said, I was interested in this team because I thought they were going to fix their secondary, and Terry and Arnold, his mediocre start, he's getting flagged, getting too handsy. That was honestly in the scouting reports, that was his weakness coming out as a prospect. And then he's hurt and the other rookie's hurt. So this might be the same bums who were in there last year, couldn't stop anybody. I'm interested in the Cardinals, but if you guys are on the Cardinals too, then I'm definitely, if you guys think this is a better contest play than the Bucs, I'd be willing to put this one on there.
Market support for the Cardinals makes me a little worried there. This opened, look ahead 4.5, open 3.5 has come down to 3. I'm seeing 62% of the tickets on Arizona. So I think at 3, it's a bit worrisome that this might be a little bit popular. I don't know how to cap the Lions right now, because the worse and worse that the Rams look, the worse and worse that victory week 1 looks, where overtime looked like high school football, where one team had a bunch of FBS recruits and the other just had a bunch of guys that just play football for fun.
Yeah, their best moment this year involved Jared Goff throwing 0 passes. I think that's an indictment of this team.
Yeah, for sure. Whereas the Cardinals, I think we're still all skeptical of this defense. But the offense highlights are possible with all the weaponry that they have. And Kyler Murray, a full year removed from the knee injury. So I think this game just has a very wide range of outcomes. And yeah, like we said at the top, if you like the Cardinals, just take them money bet line. Should we give the people Survivor advice, even though we're completely, look how disgusted Brett is when I even bring up the word Survivor. We should at least give them some info. Mo, you've done the work, you've done the article, you've looked at the landscape. What do you got, Mo?
Can I just say that it's like torture every week to write that article once I bust my survivors? Anyways.
Look at Aaron Rodgers scampering for first downs. I can't
this
believe
week,
you idiots didn't lay the points with the Jets.
I think the Raiders are going to be
I did. Don't look at me.
Extremely popular. But I would not play the Raiders probably. But that being said, they have 0 future value, so I get it. Tampa Bay and the Raiders were the teams I highlighted in my article that I thought were going to be the most popular. I'm looking at the projections. They look like they will be the most popular. I would have a hard time staying off Tampa Bay if it was me. I think that I'm going to play Tampa Bay in the second chance ones. But yeah, if you want to dig deeper, this is not a great week for it, I don't think. But like Brett said, Cleveland, I honestly think it's too late now, but I honestly think the Jets were probably a good play just because everyone is going to be on the Jets next week. Everyone has that circled. Jets at home against Denver, -10. Lock it in. So it's too late for that, but I think if you played Jets, you probably did good.
I played Jets in my rebuy Survivor, where I busted my first buy-in with the Cowboys last week. The Jets are absolutely marching right now. There are people that could be listening to this after they lose, laughing at me. But I honestly think we are going to blank the Patriots in this game. This just feels in my bones like 27-7 this game.
I swore off taking Thursday Night Football Survivor teams after last year. I will never do it again. You
get such an ownership advantage though, because people forget, they're not paying attention. Like I'm gonna pick 4 pool where I have the Jets -6.5 tonight, just because there's people never click these games.
There's nothing better than
Rodgers
getting through on Thursday.
Oh my God.
And then watching and praying for chaos the rest of the week, knowing you're already through. Isn't that the best?
It's true.
We did that a couple times.
It's true, but man, just the added variance with the short week, less recovery time, less... I don't know, man. Especially if you got a coach that just doesn't have it. I couldn't click Jets this week.
Salah sucks, but okay, the Patriots are bad.
Yes.
The Jets have a massive advantage in both trenches.
Yes.
Rookie head coach on the road. Thursday Night Football coming off of an overtime game. I mean, this is way too many things pointing to just having success.
I'll say that you convinced me to hold off on my Patriots bet. I was thinking about betting them. I just loaded up on Hunter Henry overs. That's what I did.
Got to hope for Quincy Williams to fall asleep at the wheel. Oh, no. Holding, and now a sack. Second and forever. All right.
Here it is.
We're holding on for dear life now. All right. Follow these guys on Twitter at Brett Colson, COLLSON, at Donnie_Peterson, at Monowara, NUWWARAH. I'm at Rich T. Ryan. Absolutely need 5-0 after last week. Enjoy the football this weekend. We'll see you next week. Peace. Out.